Hello everyone, I'm Silverraptor and welcome back to another Wargame video! Yes, I have back after a little bit while since our last Wargame video, and that is because I went and traveled to go see the totality of the eclipse, which was absolutely fantastic. I highly recommend it to anyone out there to go and see the next eclipse when it comes by. But enough about that. I have returned. I have taken a little while, but I've resettled back in, and I decided it's time to go play some war games. So I went and got into a game. I decided to open up the game with the full pure intention of playing a West German deck because I felt like playing West Germany. It just comes to me. I'm like, I don't want to play this nation for no particular reason whatsoever. So I got into the game, and I looked to go grab the West German deck, and discovered there was no West German deck from my deck creation videos. I thought I had one, but no one actually requested a West German deck. You guys have all failed me. So, this is going to be the deck creation video of a West Germany nation. And then I'm going to go off and play that West German deck like I originally intended to do the moment I first sat in front of this computer. So, let's go and create our West German deck. We're going to name it the West German First Army. Oops, blue 4 of course. And the nation is West Germany. Now, first thought about West Germany is that they are a little weak on the air side, but they are pretty strong on the ground side. And you will see that as we get into this creation process. So, we're going to first put our fob. Good. We're off to a good start. And now we need to focus on our supply and our vehicles. Now, the MAT transport CH-53G, this is a pretty big helicopter. It's got 1,500 liters of supply for fuel, and it is very big. It's got about 35 points. Now, there's a little bit of an issue with that, because if we compared it to the Mancaddy 6x6, it has more supply for less price, and I don't I don't see why you would take the MAT transport. The problem is with helicopters, supply helicopters in particular, is that they are very easy to see. People love to destroy supply vehicles, and if you can't really hide a giant helicopter, especially from anyone who has a pair of binoculars, when it's flying around and landing. And because it's very big in size, it actually takes a little bit while to fully land, and it has less supply. So we're not going to focus on that. We're definitely going to get a Mancaddy 6x6 for our fuel transport. Now, we need to figure out what we want as a vehicle. We could get the Iltis Kdau. It's 110 points. They don't have, unfortunately, they don't have access to the 100-point Jeep. But the problem is, if you compare this to the U.S. Humvee, which is another 110 points, the U.S. Humvee is superior in every which way. It's almost as fast off-road. I think it goes 90 kilometers an hour. It has 10 strength and a Browning machine gun. This is just a 5-point more expensive truck, so we're not going to do that one. One thing we could do is this. It certainly has the armor and the amphibiousness that it could get into position. The problem is that the little shadow box window that I leave open during my games, I'm sure some of you are annoyed by it, but I actually use that because that is actually a very good spotting tool with that window, that you're able to see the black line silhouette if you don't have complete identifying of the unit where it's just a dash dash dash, but if you mouse over it, that little shadow box window will show you the silhouette, and if you're someone who's good enough, like me, to be able to recognize a vehicle instantly by its silhouette, you'll be able to tell that if you see a giant air conditioning unit in front of this kind of chassis of a vehicle, it's automatically a CV in this game. So, knowing that, and that it's easily identified as a possible CV, I tend to stay away from this. Now, the Fux Fufu, it is very fast, definitely. It can be confused for a transport because there are regular German transport vehicles. It does have an MG3 machine gun. This is actually a pretty damn good vehicle. The problem is that I also want to get a Leopard 2 CV because it's a pretty damn good tank vehicle. And if you have two vehicle CVs, especially in the generalized deck, the problem leads to versatility and the versatility of infantry. And to tell you the truth, the actual infantry of the West Germans are actually pretty good because they have the MG3, which has 594 rounds per minute, almost 600 rounds per minute, with a 20% accuracy. So they can actually decently defend themselves against straggler infantry that are trying to find them. Of course, you wouldn't want them to actually get into that combat, but that is still pretty good, and they can come into the Fuchs, which allows for uh, basic, well, quick transportation. Now, we could get the Fuchs Milan as well, but it doesn't quite have the accuracy that I want. It would make them a little more expensive. So, what I'm thinking is getting the Ferns Group, or Fundsgruppe, I don't know quite how to pronounce that, and I am going to get 4 hardened Leopard 2 tanks as well. Or do I want hardened? Do I want veteran? Yeah, sure, we'll get veteran. Because they're tanks, we want the better tanks. We're not going to spend 170 points for a Leopard 2 variant. That's reserved for the Leopard 2A5 for that kind of price. So, we've got our logistics, and I spent way too much time on this. Let's go speed it up and get it into the infantry tab. Now, next up are the difference between the Volksmann 90 and the Volksmann Jägers. I'm not going to lie, Volksmann Jägers I wouldn't really get unless I am playing a motorized West German deck, which I have not done yet, or a deck that is not 1990, which is probably like the 1980 or 1985 deck. So the Volksmann Jäger 90s is the one we want. Now, they have nerfed them a bit. They no longer have that 60% stabilizer on the move, whereas the regular Volksmann Jägers are the same accuracy on the move as they are stationary. So do as you will with that. But we definitely want to get Volksmann Jäger 90s, but I do not want to get them into this troop transport. Ooh, when did they add this? So, the troop transport CH-53G, I don't like this with the Volksmann Jäger 90s because the Volksmann Jäger 90s are elite trained, and that elite training goes over to the vehicle that they're riding in. The problem with the troop transport, it has no guns. It's basically wasting the elite veterancy status of the Volksmann Jäger 90s, and the problem is, yes, it's a really, really fast helicopter, but because, again, it's very big size, it takes a while to land. So if you're trying to do this as a forward thrust and the enemy has anti-aircraft helicopters, they can shoot down these helicopters before they have a chance to land, and these things are very hard to get close to a front line without being shot down because they are likely to be seen. So even though this is the only real unit, I think there's one other unit that can come in the troop transport CH-53G, I do like actually having the Fuchs Milan. And the reason why is that veterancy, I'm just going to do this, that veterancy transfers over to the Milan F1 that the Fuchs Milans carry, and that increased accuracy with that missile basically means that the Milan has a 50 or greater than 50% chance of hitting with an AP Power 17 ATGM missile, which is very useful, especially for 15 points. So I definitely want to get a card of the Volksmann Jäger with the Fuchs Milan. Oh, hang on a second. Sorry about that. I felt the sneeze coming on. Anyways, veteran or elite? Do I want more or more accurate Milans? If I'm going to be paying this price, I definitely want to have the more Volksmann Jäger 90. So let's get some veterans. The Fuchs Milans will do their job. Now, militia. The West German militia are actually the only militia one of the few militia I would actually consider getting. And that is because they have 14 AP power for a 5-point troop. And because they have 14 AP power, they can kill a lot of vehicles that are a lot more expensive than them. And they're very cheap efficient anti-vehicle killers, especially when they come into a 5-point troop transport as well. So that makes them pretty useful. I will look at this a little later and see if we will actually get Himashutsen. But for now, let's focus on Jaegers. Now we can get Jaegers, definitely want to get Jaegers because they still have the MG3. Even though they have a 5-point increase, they're still pretty damn efficient with that MG3 in taking out enemy infantry. And so we're definitely going to get a card of them. We're going to get them in the M113, aka the 5-point truck of death, because that just makes them very cheap and efficient infantry to bring in, and it still has a pretty good MG3. Yes, the Fuchs is faster, but that's what the Volkswagen 90 is for. So now that we got Jaegers, we need to go figure out about any other kind of infantry, and we are definitely going to have to decide between the Panzer Grenadier and the Panzer Grenadier 90s. And why do we need to decide between these two? Because they have the Martyr 2, which is an excellent APC vehicle. I'll just get into the line of view right here. The Martyr 2 has a 1925 meter main gun, and it's just 70% accurate. It's kinetic. It has 6 AP power with 7 front armor. Sign me up, and let's go kill anything that gets in our way. So, the Panzer Grenadiers and Panzer Grenadier 90s, okay, there's the same amount. It really comes with cost. Do we want it 5-point cheaper or not? So let's see what we get for 5 extra points. We get the same main gun. We get the same MG3 gun, close quarter combat. The difference is the RPG. Now, this is not bad for the RPG, but a 70% 24 AP power is just death to our enemies. So we are going to get one Panzer Grenadier 90 for the Martyr 2. Okay, so if we do this, I'll be able to visualize. We've got basically 46 really strong infantry. I could get another Panzer Grenadier 90 from Martyr 2, but that is kind of pushing it for a general deck. So let's move away from that. And let's start focusing on actual support infantry. So let's get the Fliegerfaust 2, which are basically Stinger Cs, to shoot down any pesky helicopters. That will definitely help out. Now, Deccan's Gruppe are very good. They have nice AP power, 70% accuracy, 700 meter range is kind of a letdown. It's either that or Milan 2s. Now, we have Milan 1s with the Fuchs Milan. If we get Milan 2s, they're not that much better. I'll just use this vehicle as a reference point. Let's pin that. There we go. So 5% accuracy more, and 7 more AP power for 5 additional points. But we do get more missiles that we can put in vehicles. You know what? Let's do that. We are going to get hardened Milan 2s. And why is it hardened, you might ask? Well, because, yeah, you can get 10 trained, but this also will affect both missiles to be far more accurate for ATGMs, and that will definitely give us all the kills in the world. And we will just put the Volkswagen 90s at the end there so that we can have everything match. Panzer Grenadier 90s is Martyr 2, Jaegers and the 5-point trucks of death with the Fliegerfaust 5-point trucks of death, and the Fuchs Milan infantry side by side. So we've got our infantry tab set out for our general deck. Let's go into the support. Now, I definitely want to get the Flak Panzer Gepard A2 because it is basically the Blue Force style of Tunguska. You've got a radar gun and you've got infrared missiles. Unfortunately, Tunguska missiles are longer range, but still, Stinger C missiles, definitely not something you want to come up against if you're fighting against if you get flying too close to the Blue 4. Now, unfortunately, they are a little bit weak on the AA in terms of aircraft. The best they can do is between the Roland 2 and the Roland 3. They have the same accuracy, but the Roland 3 is farther range and has 65% accuracy. And the problem is that it can only fire really 2 missiles at a time before it needs to do the hard reload. There's a soft reload and a hard reload that I call it in this game. The soft reload is a time between firing between the two barrels. That doesn't take too long, so you can fire one missile after the other misses or hits. It will fire instantly the second one if the target's still in range. After that, it needs to do the hard reload, which basically takes it 10-second times to fully reload after the first missile fired in order to fully reload to fire these missiles. And by that time, any aircraft that was in its range is long gone. So the main problem is that you need a whole bunch of these in order to shoot down enemy aircraft. The Roland 3 is basically the Roland 2. Okay, this is kind of weird. FRP and the FRR Roland 3. Wait, what? Oh, I guess I was comparing it to the Roland 2. Okay, so they're the same. Sorry, I confused myself. Okay, so we definitely need to get more anti-radar. And the thing is, between these two is the Roland 3 truck on the left statistics side doesn't have any armor, and it's not overall that much faster than the regular armored Roland 3. So we might just stick with the Roland 3. Yeah, we're gonna have to rely on the Roland 3 with its AA. And for the actual other radar that we have to get, let's compare the Flak Panther Gepard A2 to the A1 and the regular Flak Panther. So the only difference is that it has a slightly worse gun than the Flak Panther Gepard A2 with the A1. Slightly worse accuracy, whereas the Gepard can't fire on the move, but it still has the same range. So I think just for quantity, we are going to get a bunch of regular Flak Panther Gepards. So we'll just dive that up there. Now we can definitely get some mortars. Do we want mortars or do we want an artillery piece? Artillery piece is not the best. Let me just look at the missiles really quick. We've got rocket missiles with the Lars that don't have smoke capacity. Lars 2, which does have smoke capacity, that could actually replace our mortar need. And the plain old Mar 2 AP power rain from above. These are fun. I'm not gonna lie, these are definitely fun to use. Mortars, this thing. You know what? I'm gonna get some Lars 2. Yep, Lars 2. And this could be fun to use. Alright, so we have our support tab. We have our Flak Panthers. We've got our anti-aircraft unit and some Lars 2 and Mars. Not the strongest on aircraft. We do have to rely a lot more on radar. But we're still pretty decent. Tank tab. The best part about the West German army, we are going to get some Leopard 2A5s because these things are a killer beast when it comes to any enemy forces. Now, all the Leopard 2 series, I think, are perfectly priced for everything that they are given. For example, compare the Leopard 2A5 to the Leopard 2A4, and we have essentially, for 40 points less, only a 5% degradation from the accuracy, 4 less AP power, and just slightly 3 less front armor. That is not a huge difference for a huge price range. So we are definitely going to get some Leopard 2A4s. Now for even cheaper, for 100 points, if you compare the Leopard 2A4 to the Leopard 2A1, for 30 points less, you have the same accuracy with only 1 AP power difference. Not helping my case yet. And 3 less front armor than the Leopard 2A4. So for 30 points less, you have basically very little difference between both these tanks. So I think we want to get even just another Leopard 2A1, just basically another cheaper variant of the tank. Now we could get the Leopard 2. The problem is we already have this in the form of a CV, but these are still definitely an excellent tank. If we didn't take the tank CV, I would have taken this. But there's another tank that I have in mind, which is similar price range, and that is the Kyler, the beast tank of them all. It's a prototype, and if you compare that to the Leopard, yes, it does fall a little short in the front armor in terms of the Leopard, but it's got a pretty accurate gun and an autocannon on it, and that autocannon can kill a lot of extra things. Can basically provides double the firepower for this Kyler. So it is definitely worth in my book to take it. So we have a lot of tanks in the West German general deck, and like I said earlier, West Germany aims to be better in the tank department and ground forces. So let's look at the Recon. Now, the Recon, they do have BGSs, which can come in these troop transports, but they're militias, so you could get away with that, but I'd rather take something else. Now we've got Fernspar. Now, Fernspar are pretty decent. And I think we're actually going to get some Fernspar. Oh, they're elite. If they're elite, then let's go get them in the Fuchs Milan so that we can have even more ATGM power. And the Fuchs Milan is pretty fast amphibious. That's the most important thing with Recon, especially two-man squads that you want to get behind enemy lines. You want them to be able to cross rivers so that they can turn off their weapons and then sneak around to make sure that they can kill enemy targets. And they've got a sniper rifle with 1 HE power. They're infantry killers at long range. And with exceptional stealth, nobody's going to see them. We've got this truck. Moving on. Ah, yes, the PAH-2 Tiger. Definitely want to get this. Now, what's interesting about the Tiger Recon is that it is exceptional optics, it's good stealth, but all of its weapons are designed to keep it at range. The Stinger, the Hot 2, and even the rocket pods, all of them are designed to keep this thing at its max range to shoot at the enemy targets. Not even autocannon or anything for up close and personal fire. So that's what I like about this. This thing can just stay back, still provide support and spot, and stay relatively safe. Especially with its good stealth, it can actually be missed by enemy forces. So definitely get APA AH2 Tiger in the West German deck. It's definitely worth it. And for a vehicle, we've got the Lux A1 or the Lux or whatever this is. The Sonderwagen 3. That is funny looking. Okay, let's compare the Lux A1 to the Lux. Now, the difference between these two is basically between the very good optics and a slightly better gun with the Lux A1. And since you still get a bunch of them, I think I am going to get the Lux A1 because it's got that funny little radar looking piece on the side of its turret. So we're definitely going to get that. We could get some tanks, but we don't really need them. We could get a helicopter. Don't really need that. And if we want really, but let's see. We've got quite a bit of expensive recon all around. So why don't we finish this up with some very cheap trained militia recon BGS just to place around everywhere to make sure we see where the enemy is going everywhere. Alright, that's good. Now, vehicles. Not going to lie, it's a little bit underwhelming. The Jaguar series is pretty expensive, and it only goes up to the Ito. The Weasel Totu, probably the best of the best, but unfortunately, it is vehicle, which means the tanks that it's supposed to fire, if the enemy is charging at you, it only can fire one missile, and hopefully that missile hits and destroys it. Otherwise, this Weasel Totu is going to hit full reverse. The only thing going for it, though, is that it has small size, so it's harder to hit it. The Martyr VTSI, this is actually a pretty good support piece. It's got pretty much kinetic AP power 15. That's low rate of fire, but this is definitely a good fire support unit. I'm just checking the infantry tab. Okay, we don't really have a fire support in infantry, so let's get some Martyr VTS 1s, and I definitely want them to hit on the first shot. That's why I got them. Harden, Iltis Milan 2 suffers. It's basically worse than the Totu in every which way. Now the Flak Panzer M42A1. This is actually a deceptively good vehicle because with 15 points you basically got an infantry chewer right in front of you. Doesn't really do, even though it can shoot at helicopters, doesn't quite do as much, but these things are definitely fun to spam out. But we'll get back to it if we have if we have more points to spend and we need to figure out where to spend them on. Now, helicopters is quite underwhelming. You have stingers on this. I'm just going to get it hardened because this thing is unlikely really to contribute too much before it gets shot down, because it has 4 size strength and 1 missile takes them out immediately. So you definitely just want to get them off and make sure those missiles hit at the very start of the game. Now we could get some anti-tank helicopters, but we do have quite a bit of anti-tank missiles already. So I'm going to get these hardened with the thought in mind that I can always come back and remove them as we go into the aircraft tab. Now, we're definitely very weak on the anti-air capabilities against aircraft. So I am going to get the F4W KWS. I could get 4 rookies, really? When did that happen? But I could get that. I could get 2 veterans. I don't think they have any other they've got the 70-point variant, which is just a close range variant. Missiles are pretty bad. Let's see here. Rookie, veteran, rookie, or veteran. This is tough. I'm almost tempted to go rookie just so that we can spam these guys out, because we don't really have the pure anti-aircraft capabilities. Though with veteran, we'd be able to shoot down those aircraft even better. Let's get 4 rookies. I'm all for experimenting. Let's see if this actually works. If they don't shoot down as much as I would expect, even though I bring these guys in pairs a lot, then I can always come back and swap that out for veteran. Tornado IDS, 4 500 kilogram bombs. Yes, please, I'll get 2 of those. Tornado ECR, 4 seed missiles. Yes, let's go and shoot down. If we have to be forced to use crappy radar all the time, then we're going to make sure the enemy can't use radar either. Peace Rhine, our emergency stop the enemy tank plane, 50% accuracy. But we're going to get 2 of those hardened. And we are going to get napalm bombers and alpha jets to drop upon the enemy. Justice reigns from above. Okay, so we filled out our aircraft tab pretty quickly, I might add. Let's just change it up a little bit, at least to organize, and that'll do. We've got our anti-aircraft, we've got the seed plane, we've got the anti-tank, we've got the bomber, and then we've got the napalm bomber. Oh, look, we filled up on activation points. Okay, so this could work. I think I'm going to stick with this because it's between this or the Flak Panther. No, that didn't quite work. Let's try this again. This or this for the 2-point activation cost. As Val had always said, it's always the economy cost of the activation points, which you're trying to bring something in. And even though the Flak Panther M42A1 is definitely fun to use, the BO-105P helicopter is definitely more valuable in this situation. So we've got our entire tab filled out with all the different tanks and infantry and everything. Definitely a pretty strong deck in my opinion. We just need to do the emergency Navy section of getting all the Navy aircraft all set and ready to go. Put that there, put that there, put that there, and finally finish it up with the Etendards. And then we'll put this guy here and put this guy here. So it's all organized, and boom. We've got ourselves a West German deck. Definitely want to get into playing with this deck. So I'll see you all in the next video where we will be battling with the West German decks. And also, before I go, make sure if you guys have a deck suggestion you want me to do, please put it down in the comments below, and I will see about getting around to making it.